Q&A Wednesday? Well, basically, you guys send them to me. So throughout the week, I will receive questions through Messenger, and I prefer email just because Messenger, I sometimes don't see it, especially if we're not connected as friends. And so you email me the question, I think about it, I study into it. Now, I'll be honest, not every question makes it because I think they're more direct and personal, and I try and respond to those accordingly. But those that I think that have value, good morning, Kinston. Those that I think have value for other people, those are the questions that I pull out and I try and bring an answer because, you know, we've all been in that room, that conference or that event where somebody raises a hand and asks a question. You're like, oh, that's a good question. I was just thinking the same thing, but they asked it in a better way. Well, hopefully that's what you'll find with Q&A Wednesday today. So as you jump in the room, as you take a moment, say good morning, say hello, give everybody a shout out, let them know where you're from. And remember, this Friday, we have an Olympic silver medalist joining us for Fun Friend Friday. Kip Roth is going to be in the house. If you want to know more about him, look down in the feed. There is a post about him. Kind of excited. I mean, I've met some medalists before, but an Olympic medalist, as well as an attorney and a business owner, all going to be here on Fun Friend Friday. Feel like the screen's going to get a little crowded. So to get started with the Q&A Wednesday, thank you again, everybody, for jumping in. I see a couple of you guys joining in as you come in. Do me a favor, say hello as you hit the room, say good morning. Remember, we are a community. And, you know, you wouldn't walk into your office or into a dinner party or into a friend's house without taking a moment, saying hello, and encouraging somebody in the room and pointing out something great. So, question number 1 with the Q&A Wednesday. How can I get people to buy in? And so this was a bit bigger of a question, but it was basically around that idea of I feel like they're not catching the vision. I feel like I'm always trying to lead. Nobody seems to want to participate. But the overall idea was, how can I get people to buy in? Here's the thing. Good morning, Elizabeth. So our first question, because Elizabeth is a phenomenal note taker, so I'll make sure she has a chance. How can I get people to buy in? Remember that people tend to support that they create. That, you know, if I just walked in and said, here's what we're doing, everybody get on board, everybody buy in, everybody share the vision, everybody share the mission, I'm going to be pulling them up the hill and through the process, and they're not going to really do the buy-in. But if I take time as a leader and let them create, let them be a part of the vision and the mission and the statement and the plan and the resources, if I get them engaged about what they feel and what they need and what their fears and what their objections are, that 10 minutes or whatever amount of time is required up front to hear them will pay off in fuel down the road. And so if you're trying to get somebody to buy into your idea, you're really probably doing more of like a sales pitch and a preaching thing versus leadership. And leadership is about that idea of in connecting to the people or connecting to the team or connecting to the person, hearing what they have to say, knowing what they need, understanding their needs, wants, and desires, incorporating that into the bigger vision, mission, purpose, and then moving together. And so often when I visit an organization or I work with a team and I see this problem, what I've noticed is that there's this communication gap. Like the people at the top office, back left corner overlooking the bay, so to speak, the good office windows, have decided in secrecy what the next vision, mission, business plan's going to be, and then they sort of send it down through the ranks. And then it gets down to the people that are actually doing the work, and it's disconnected because you always hear it. It's like, oh, they don't even understand. They don't even know what we faced out. Like, oh my gosh, what do they... And they start criticizing the leadership. Had that leadership taken a moment and said, here's where we want to go. Here's where we think our next opportunity is. Here's how I think we can grow, change, whatever, as a company, as a team, as an organization, as a family, as a faith group, and sat down and said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about this? And listen, first, they may have insight and perspective that they didn't have sitting way up there. But second, then the people would say, okay, we're on board. You've heard us. You understand us. You're ready to accept our challenges and our needs and wants as well as yours. We're going to work together. So if you're trying to get buy-in, it's probably the fact that you failed to have communication. Good morning, Brittany Purcell, and congratulations to your husband on becoming a realtor. He took the smart mouth route, decided to become commercial. So, hey, he's up there. But congratulations. And you guys will make a phenomenal partnership because you are an amazing person in servicing your clients. And I'm sure he follows that. Number two, I'm sorry, I lost question number 2. I have a hard time asking for help. And this question was a little bit bigger. I have a hard time asking. I'm worried about what people will say. I'm worried about the rejection, things like that. But I think we all sometimes struggle with that. I have a hard time asking for help. What should I do? Well, there was an interesting study where they sat down and they said, if you ask this person or this group of people, for help, what do you think the response was? What turned out to be the reality is that they were wrong. Like the number of yeses was 3 times more than they had predicted. That so often we perceive that there's going to be a no when there's a yes waiting. That people are 3 times more likely to say yes than you thought. And so, one, you got to get over the idea that they're going to probably say no. My son, God love him. I love my son. He's such my best coach. He'll often come up to you and go, I know you're going to say no, but, and then he'll ask me a question like, I know you're going to say no, but. And so because every moment has to be a teaching moment in our house, I'll often stop him and I'll say, well, why do you think I'm going to say no? And then he might explain. I say, well, how do you think we could change the question to get a yes? And we'll go through how we could change the question to get a yes. Or why do you think that question isn't worthy of a yes? And then I always try and make sure I give a yes unless it's something crazy like, can I drive the car to school? I'm a 9-year-old. People are 3 times more likely to say yes than no. And then number 2 is often we're afraid to ask because we're afraid they're going to judge us. They're going to somehow think of us in a negative way, that it's going to tarnish our reputation or we're going to feel failure. Well, the same study said we overestimate the amount of judgment or reflection or attention by almost like 2 times. Like people are not thinking about you as much as you think they're thinking about you. And the truth is, after you've asked and they've responded, they move on to their world and pretty much don't give it a second thought. But yet we're so consumed of, what if I ask and they say no, what are they going to think about me? In reality, if I ask, they're more likely to say yes than I thought. And even if they say no, they pretty much move on and go past it and don't give it a second thought. Because that's the nature of people. So if you're having a hard time asking for help, 1, check how you're asking the question. Make sure there's an opportunity to say yes. And in sales, we say make sure the person you're asking has the ability to say yes. So often we'll be pitching an idea to somebody that doesn't even have the ability to say yes. So the only answer they have is no. So watch that. And then 2, understand that if the question is formulated in a way that the person could say yes to it, that they're 3 times more likely to say yes than no than what you perceived. And then also understand that they're not as consumed with it as you are. They don't have the anxiety and emotion and judgment attached to it that you do. And so once the question's asked and answered, they move on. And you should too. So get over yourself in a sort of a polite way. Start asking for help, because when you ask for help, you identify the resource that you need to succeed. And in identifying that resource, you grow in your awareness and your ability to seek it out. And so you've got to ask for help. You got to ask for help. You got to ask for help. Nobody does this thing life alone. And you got to make sure you're asking the right people too. Our third and final Q&A Wednesday question is, I'm doing everything to get better, but it's not making a difference. And then they went on to explain what they were doing. And it came up as a lot of repetition, like I'm doing it every single day, that kind of thing. And so if everything is about repetition, you're not doing everything, was sort of my response. Repetition by itself will not make us better. We have this belief that if I do it and 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 do it, I'll get better. And it doesn't work that way. Doing it just in repetition in the same format is not going to make you master or grow the idea. You know, you've got to have this progressive mastery of a skill, an idea, a thought, a belief, a something. Whatever you're trying to create change in, you've got to progress towards mastery. And so what that often requires is that first we have to define the one thing that we want to master, or the one skill or one habit or one belief that we want to master. And then two, we have to figure out what our push goal is. Like, what is that thing that's just outside our current ability? That if I got here, I'd be good. And then the push goal is like, whoa, people would really notice, or I would really notice, or there would be a real impact. You know, there would be like that shift in perspective of my abilities. And then you got to have a bit of an emotional attachment to the success. I was working with a coaching client yesterday, and I said, what is your goal? And they gave me a number, and I said, explain that. And they gave me the math of how they came up with it. And I said, well, why is that important? And it took 20 or 30 minutes of really digging in and asking questions and creating a pain point of like, if I don't achieve that, here's where the pain's going to be. And it's not a negative pain, it's that necessity that like, man, it's really important that I achieve this. And so there was that emotional attachment to it. And then determine your skills that need to be mastered. It's like, okay, I know what I want to achieve, I know what I can do, but where is the missing element? Is it my backhand? Is it my forehand? Is it my serve? Is it my putting? Is it my long game? Is it eating late at night? Is it running? Is it working out? Is it speaking in public? Is it speaking, I'm recording? Like, what is it, the skill that I gotta master that will move me into that next level of elevation? And then schedule challenges. You can't know if you're a good runner if you're not running against other runners. You can't know if you're a good speaker if you're not speaking with other speakers or in front of people. You can't know if you're a good writer unless you publish something and get feedback. We need to have those scheduled challenges that drive us to becoming ready and excellent in that area. And then with those challenges, we end up measuring our outcome. It's funny, I recently ran the Peachtree, jogged the Peachtree, walked the Peachtree fast. You decide based on the time that you run. And I had sort of said as I go in, I'll be good if I can click at this minute mile pace throughout the entire race. Like if my average is this, I'll be good. And if I hit this Peachtree minute mile race, I'll be like, woo. Well, lo and behold, I get the results. And I was better than both of those because I was in a challenge position, but it also gave me the feedback or the progress, the measured progress in a stress-induced environment to say, okay, I'm really capable of this when I thought this was my ceiling. And then, so get the feedback. Sometimes that comes through role play. Sometimes that comes through doing a challenge. Sometimes that does by giving it to somebody else and asking them to sit back and review and renew. And then make sure that you're being coached, mentored, guided by somebody that's holding you to that. And then finally, the thing is, teach it. When I teach something, I have to process it in a whole different way than I learn it. And in teaching that thing or guiding somebody or coming alongside and coaching somebody in that thing, I change the way I see it and I change the way I perceive it. And in doing so, I become better at it. It's not that I'm the master and I'm now ready to teach, but when I share what I've learned, when I work with somebody on a skill set, or when I go to, and I tell somebody, hey, this is what I've learned, it sticks in different. So repetition by itself is not going to make you better. Repetition is just going to make you do the same thing every day, the same way, without change. That's why I've even changed up Fun Friend Friday, or changed up Success Life Live with having a Fun Friend Friday, because that grows my interview skills, and Q&A Wednesday because it's a different format and a different feeling than the other days of the week. And I now blog and I podcast and I do different things in different ways so that I can analyze it and review it and get feedback and coaching, and I can teach it and I can share it. That all of it going in different directions is still about me being able to add value to others through what I do as a coach and a speaker and a trainer. But I'm learning it in different skill areas so that I can overlap it and weave it together. I'm not just doing the same speech every single day to you guys every single day of the week for 1,000 times. And so when the question was, I'm doing everything to get better, but it's not making a difference. And then we went on in the question, she talked about the repetition. Really think of yourself as, how can I learn to master this? And if I was a novice tennis player, what would the steps that a Wimbledon player would take? And in that would be coaching, and in that would be challenges, and in that would be feedback, and in that would be changing the skill sets and changing the environment. And that would be determining which skills they need to master: backhands, forehands, serve, short game, long game, doubles, whatever. They mix it up. And so you've got to do the same. So those were our 3 Q&A Wednesdays for today. I hope you enjoyed them. Like I said, I love Q&A Wednesday. I love when I get the questions. So make sure you're sending them out to me. You can do that at Eric G Reid. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your gift of note-taking extraordinaire. You're just a gift. You're just a gift. I want you to know that, Elizabeth. And thank you, Liz, for jumping in. And for all those that are watching in the replay, remember this week, this month, the next couple weeks, what I want to start seeing is, if you're watching in replay, just give me a replay, time zone and why that works better for you. As we talked about in today's Q&A, sometimes you got to mix it up, change it up, see what's happening. I know everybody's kind of on a summer holiday and their schedule now isn't going to be the same as it is in August and September during the school year, but I just want to make sure that I'm adding a value to you in a way that becomes accessible to you. And so often, just as a reminder, these lives go on the YouTube channel where it's a little easier to find and download and watch. And I don't think I have that channel posted up above, so I'll have to do that for you. But again, the YouTube channel is, just search Eric G Reid and you should stumble across it. Fun Friend Friday is coming around the corner. And just remember, it's funny. My kids are hating me this week. It's 2 weeks and like 4 days till school starts, and I keep reminding them, and they're like, "That's not fair." I'm like, "Oh, can't wait to get some of my own private time back." But I've loved being stay-at-home dad or in-house dad this summer, and learning to face those challenges of working and still, having time for kids and connecting with them, because you know what? It's going to be gone soon. It's going to be gone soon. And so I don't want to miss out on those opportunities. So as September and August come in, or August and September come in to the calendar, I will be opening up more coaching spots. A couple of you have asked about coaching with me one-on-one. Just connect to me and we'll talk about it. And also, I think there's going to be a few more mini master group classes starting again come August and September. So make sure you're signing up for the newsletter so you can find out about it. All right. Well, thank you, Liz, for joining me. I know I switched up the direction. Everybody's trying to guess what's behind me. Maybe someday I'll take you on a tour of my thing. This behind me is like all the things that mean something to me, or when I look at them, they have symbolism, or here, I'll get one for you. I don't know where this pin came from, but I really liked it. It says, "Accept your greatness." So I keep that somewhere where I see it, so I remember it. I think I got this off a desk somewhere. Please ask for assistance. So I remember to always ask for assistance. So that's what's all piled up behind me. All right, you guys? Well, until tomorrow, go out and live your life with success. It is yours. It is yours. It is yours. It's already been defined and declared for you because you have thought into it of what it is. You have said somewhere in the quietness of your life, in prayer or in meditation or just driving across town, if only my life could be this. Well, now that you've spoken it in, it is yours. It is waiting for you. And guess what? You're worthy of it. You don't have to wait until next month, next year, new job, new date, new husband, kids go to college. No, you don't have to wait. You are worthy of it here and now. So go out and live your life with success because you are worthy of it. Bye-bye, everybody.